about the time the police came? Jimmy.
The police? Oh, they broke in.
They had,
Waters.
no, that wasn't the first time. The WPA was building, putting in new sewers on the street. So, in their wisdom, the kids got together and they moved the outhouse out into the middle of the street. So, yeah, I don't know if the car hit it, but there was a complaint anyway.
Can't imagine. Probably read out Annie.
The police came to the door in daylight the next day. And, the guy had a wicked reputation. Everybody was afraid of this policeman. And he knocked on the door and he said, "Is your son James here?" And my mother said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I'm here to take him in." And she said, "No, you can't." So they got into the dining room. And the policeman was chasing Jimmy around the field. And my mother was trying to keep...
Recording, I think it was.
And another time there was a family that had two young women that were about the right age for James and his friends, so they decided that the Lauders, the parents were not away, but they were downtown, or I don't know, they'd gone to a movie or what. So the boys decided they wanted to get in the house too. So they're at the back door, and the girls are holding the door from the inside, and they're pounding while they broke the back window on the door. So of course they scattered, but the girls confessed as to what had happened. And so Percy called up. Percy was right from England. He called up the police station. He wanted them arrested. So they came and took them away. I don't know how, there were three or four boys, I think.
Frank Cody?
Jerry Daly. And
George Ergo, probably.
the upshot of it was they had to pay to replace the window, so it cost them 18 cents a piece or something like that.
No, not.
I don't know how many of these ever got recorded in their record. Just typical. I shouldn't say typical, but so anyway. And then during the war, we had a man named Mr. Pavlicek who lived with a German family on the next street over. And he was a little bit strange. He had his car was painted green and orange and yellow.
But no one ever
Driving
stole
around
it.
town. So the boys decided they were going to play a trick, so they called up the police and said that Mr. Pavlicek was a German spy.
Oh,
He was
Jesus.
hiding stuff, and secrets and stuff in the manure pile in Mr. Lauder's backyard. So they went out and they're digging through the manure pile. Of course, they never found anything.
Manure.
See, I can tell all these stories because it wasn't me.
And we'll tell those.
Gus had was Good Friday.
Oh, God.
They'd gone to church, I guess, haven't they? Was it after church? I can't remember, but anyway.
One of the kids had a car.
That's fine.
Yeah, and pulled fire alarm. And everybody, I don't know how they got it, but anyway, Gus got home, and he was in bed, and the policeman, 12 o'clock at night, the policeman knocked on the door. And when my father answered, of course, and said that we're here after Donald Conklin. And my father said, he's in bed. And they said, well, we need to ask her questions about an alarm being pulled.
It wasn't one, it was two alarms. On the other side of town. They pulled one and then they drove over to the other side and pulled another, to watch the fire trucks go by.
And Gus said, all I did was put my hand over my ears, Mom.
So they called them all down to the police station and it quizzed them individually. Well, unfortunately, the stories didn't quite all match up, So Gus was the last one to get caught because when they would ask kids who else was there, but then the second to last kid gave up Gus's name, so he got nailed. And they got. My father called. He had a friend on the newspaper So we called them up to see if you could keep the names out of the paper. And they never appeared in the Meriden paper, but there was a newspaper put out in Bridgeport, the Herald or something like that. That was it was sort of like the New York Post or one of those, you know, all the seamy stuff they could find. So their names all appeared on there. They got probation. They had to go down every Saturday for a month and wash the fire trucks.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it does. You still have to see him.
Kind of,
Yeah.
kind of ironic.
Yeah.
The trials of a
for
large
fun.
family. Yep. So,
Good time was had by all because we all survived.
yeah, we did.
And didn't you, what was the name of the lady you would go down and visit, you and Annie Ann?
Oh, Mrs. Chalker.
Oh, Mrs. Chalker, yeah, that was another story. When I was quite small, I used to go down to visit the Chalkers. Mr. Chalker was retired, and he had what we would call a shed in the backyard, but it was nicely kept, and he used to build furniture and stuff. And I'd go down and watch him and stuff, and he said, when you grow up, we're going to make this a barber shop for you so you can be a barber.
Oh,
Yeah, that sounds good. But anyway, he got hit by a car crossing the street in front of his house on East Main Street, getting killed.
Right,
So
right by the
Mrs.
East
right
Side
in
Market.
front of his own house?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, his
It
wife
was
on
dusk,
the
or
porch.
just getting dark, you know, and he was wearing a dark sweater and so forth. I don't know who hit him, but whoever it was, I'm sure it didn't even see him, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Mrs. Chalker was a widow, all living by herself, and my mother was good friends. My mother used to go down and they'd sit on the front porch and chat. So anyway, occasionally, we would go, Ann and I would go down and
Gus did sometimes too.
stay overnight with her.
Oh.
And she had a dog called Lucky. And to keep Lucky from roaming the house at night, she put one of those screens that we put, like you have in the windows here,
Oh, yeah.
across the doorway from the kitchen into the dining room. So we slept the night, and I got up and I went out into the kitchen. Not into the kitchen, into the dining room, and of course Lucky came running right over, put his paws up on top of the screen and peed right through all over me. So I was lucky.
Good morning.
She's a good soul, though.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we had, the Picketts lived down the street from us too, didn't they? In the, above Pickett's,
Yeah.
Pickett's package store. That's where all the Picketts lived.
Well, they lived in the smaller house next door to the big house at first, and then when they got to be 4 Pickett kids, they couldn't fit, so they swapped places with Billy and Margaret Pickett, who were living upstairs
Yeah.
originally with the parents that lived up there too. I mean, that's where Margaret and Billy and Harold.
And they had what, a package store?
Yeah.
Not then.
Oh no, they had a store,
grocery
regular
store.
grocery store.
And you bought the B&M beans there? This was Billy and Margaret's.
Yeah.
That's what they thought it was.
That's what they told us. It was Billy and Margaret. It's different Billy and Margaret. The two kids.
That's cute.
And Harold, the father, worked in the post office actually, and died suddenly of a heart attack. And so she was left with the 4 kids, and including Jackie. Jackie was the youngest.
Is that your
Jack
neighbor?
lives across the street from me now.
Oh.
He was quite a hellion as a kid, though. I think partly because he was real young when the father died, and so I think the mother kind of babied him a little bit. Speaking of babies.
Dolores Pickett.
Yeah, Lori. They call her Lori.
Laura, yeah. Does she live down there, down the shore?
Yes, she has a. She wasn't. I think she was living in like Fairfield area, but she did move to Madison maybe in the last 5 years. They have a condo in downtown.
But the one that
Madison.
Jack lives in across from you was their summer cottage that they had bought.
Right.
In order for Mrs. Pickett to have an income, they took a part of the grocery store and made it into a package store, a liquor store. And she did quite well there.
And didn't your father send you down to get
I
get
used
the
to get
beer?
sent down to get 2 6-packs of beer occasionally. And
Cigarettes we used to get sent down to the Billy's store.
yeah, my father thought he was very funny. He used to smoke Old Golds. And so one day he said to me, "Tim, I want the cold Old Golds, the cold Old Golds." I went down and asked for the cold Old Golds. Of course, they were laughing. They thought that was a big joke, and it was. I didn't know any better.
What was cold?
I think it was
Just.
I don't want the hot ones. I want the cold ones.
It's same as posing for a beef stew.
But
That was
Yeah.
they would
was
send
a
us
thing
down
that-
for 2 6-packs, and she'd give them to us because she knew the kids, you know.
Yeah.
So I walked in one night and I asked for, at the time my father was drinking Rheingold. And I walked in and asked for 2 6-packs of Rheingold, and the Rheingold salesman was there, so he gave them to me free.
So you
Come
got
on.
2 for your father and 2 for you?
No, I wasn't old enough. Such was life, and of course everything, not the liquor store, but the grocery stores were all, she'd charge it, and then once a month you'd either pay it all or pay part of it.
Yeah.
You know.
And it was the corner store. Right, the grocery store was on the corner.
No, it was,
Oh, there was.
there were 2, the East Side Market was
Oh.
on East Main Street on the left, and Pickett's store was on the right. And Billy got drafted in the Second World War, and after that the store never functioned again. Margaret worked in insurance in Hartford, I think. But Billy,
and they were brother and sister,
Yeah.
Billy and Margaret.
yeah,
And then the other brother, Harold's the one that
uh,
died,
Harold, yeah.
and his wife was the one that ran the
yeah,
package
the
store
package store.
and had the
And his
4
Jackie's
kids.
mother.
Jackie's mother, yeah.
Yeah, little Jackie Pickett.
Jackie, Lori.
Hal,
Bobby and Hal.
Bob.
Yeah.
Then we had the soapbox derby on the top of East Main Street. And it was on the 4th of July, and all the kids had to build the soapbox. And then they had races going down the street, and Bobby Pickett was in one of them. And he tried to step on the brake at the finish line, and something happened, and he crashed. And they said he had to be sent to the hospital and everything. I can remember that. He did something to his skull, but he was all right afterwards. But he got hurt.
I remember Soapbox Derby, and it was always a big thing in the news.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
slow. But yeah, I think you bought the kit or something, and you were supposed to build it basically, but
Yeah.
you know,
Parents got somewhat involved, I'm sure.
just like on school projects.
Yes,
Joe was
yeah.
on Soapbox Derby.
What?
Joe, your brother.
He was in one?
Yeah, and you know where it was?
Miller Street Hill.
Was that where Leon was born, on that street?
Yeah.
Because it was really.
Oh dear.
You know Miller Street Hill. No?
No, is that the one that you,
What's a
was
couple
it,
streets
but
over
you
from
broke
Holy?
his foot on that street?
No,
No,
she
no.
broke it in Francis Street.
Oh, okay.
He
But you used
split
to,
the egg.
you would ride down on Aunt Leon's bike with her or something?
No,
No,
Joe.
Uncle Joe had
Oh, okay.
Leon on his bike.
Oh,
On the
They got on Miller
handlebar,
Street.
sitting on the
Okay,
handlebars,
okay.
going down this incredibly steep
All right, I
hill.
understand.
Yeah.
All right.
It was like 2 streets over, or what? 2 streets over from Holy Cross
Cross.
Church. So you know how that hill is.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is
It's the
steeper.
same kind of thing. And I remember
Yeah,
that.
it starts the same height, but it ends a block sooner, so
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
more steep.
Oh.
Oh, it was really lovely.
And wait a minute, so how did you break his...
I think
She just,
put it over my knee. He was, we had a tricycle that someone gave to us. And it had this like big fender on it, but that got taken off or something. I don't know what happened to it. And just had this huge wheel. And he was I was giving him a ride, so he was sitting there, and he said something to me, which I later thought he must have said something like, "I can put my foot here."
You make a funny noise, and it made a noise.
And he did, and I'm pushing the thing, you
And
know.
then my foot, so I decided I'd make a louder noise, so I put my foot in, and the spokes caught it. And
Yeah.
she kept pushing me, and this pedal came up the back of my foot.
So you remember more about it than
Yeah.
I do, but I remember that.
I said, Carol, this hurts like heck.
Not fun anymore.
And how old do you think you were? How
It
old
was
were
a
you?
little-
About 17, I think.
It must have been about 3 to 4, I don't know, 4 probably, 4, maybe 5. And then the other time you broke your arm, which I happened to be around, but
Daddy
Ronnie and Jerry's, and they had a small stoop in the backyard, like 2-3 steps.
Yeah.
And I was in talking to Jerry, and he was jumping off the stoop, and he jumped off one time and landed on his arm,
Yeah, lost my balance.
broke
Reached
his
up.
I used to tell Michael, don't jump off the stoop. Uncle Rob broke his arm doing that.
And then I broke my arm.
Yeah, but not doing that.
No, he broke his arm. How'd you break your arm, Michael?
Oh, in the playground, I was those little things that you ride across to the sides of the platform.
Yeah, like a zip line, only not
Yeah.
zip line.
Yeah, the
Triple
little
trolley.
kid- all the kids invented a game where you throw it to the other side, and if it hit the little thing, the other team would get a point. So I jumped up to save it, and I twisted back down, and my arm went straight into the wood chips. And I waited there for a couple seconds, and I pulled it out, and it was my arm was it was like a snake. It was like.
It had a U in it.
Oh, that's what Rob's was. Rob's was like that. We brought him into the kitchen, I remember, and I'm trying to rub his arm, and went like that.
Oh.
Didn't look right. So we got him home, and they got
This
him.
reminds me of another story.
Oh, the one with
I and
the,
my brother Gus, we had a lot of snow that year. We had big mounds of snow in front of the house. So we had made a little slide, we'd sit on the top and it'd slide right down. So Gus and I were sliding back and forth. I slid down one time and I just decided I was going to sit there. My brother would say, "Get out of the way, I'm coming down, I'm coming down." Well, he came down and his foot hit my arm. And of course I embellished it a little with my screaming and hollering. Went in the house, they called the doctor came, and he felt around, he says, "Oh, I think it's a green stick fracture." It didn't really break it, but it was cracked or whatever.
Yeah.
So I said, "We need a
Piece of
splint,
wood.
piece of wood." So they went up in the empty room, which was our storage room, really. And the only thing I could figure out was the high chair had been retired by then, thank goodness, saved my mother. And so they took the tray and they broke it and took a piece of wood out of that and wrapped my arm up. We had a picture out of it going to a birthday party, and I'm sitting there with my arm in the sling. You know how to milk it in those days.
Oh, yeah.
That's about that.
Called it a green stick fracture.
Oh, I
That's
learned
what
about
means it
that.
didn't.
I learned about that in
you
science.
did?
Yeah, it's like right here. There's just a little fracture, like right about here, and it just turns a little bit.
It's I would assume because green sticks don't really
Yeah,
break.
break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They just kind of.
Yeah, but at the same time they're weakened and not where the way they're supposed to be.
The high chair, when you mentioned that, my mother painted it over, and we used it when Kevin, when,
I had the tray,
Jimmy.
new tray made.
yeah, new tray, and we had it at the house for all the kids when they came. It was an antique. I think that went out when the kids came over and cleared the whole house out, that
I
went
think
too.
it was Glenn before that.
I don't think so.
Was that the one that you could make into a potty chair too?
It used to be, yeah, not anymore.
You could accomplish two
Multi-purpose.
things at the same time.
It goes in your mouth.
It's common, they have
Yes.
like a top that you can lift up and you put the baby right there and there's your potty chair. You didn't usually feed him at the same time.
Oh dear.
But everybody had those, that was very good.
I remember too, my mother had great devotion to the Blessed Virgin and Saint Anne, thus the name Anne. And every October, she'd say we had to all go into her downstairs, the bedroom was downstairs, her bedroom. And she would say the rosary and we had to respond. Well, I was maybe 4 years old, Anne was 3, so we were too young to participate. So we would lie on the bed while the rest of them had to kneel around it. And if any of my brothers and sisters' friends were there, they had to come in too and say the rosary. But that went on. She did that
There
every
used to be
October for a long
a
time.
radio program that
Yeah,
they did the rosary on,
right,
Yeah.
I remember that.
and we had to listen to that.
Yeah, month of
That's-
October.
Unless we could get away.
October.
Why October?
I don't know.
It was the month
October
of
is
the
the
rosary.
Holy Rosary.
That was,
Our
they,
Lady
you
of the
know,
Rosaries.
they decided that's when it was. That's when you would say the prayers then.
October and May.
May
Yeah,
was
May
the
was-
ladies'
yeah.
month,
Yeah.
but the rosary month was October.
That was enforced. If you were in the house,
Yeah.
you were in there.
Very true.
That's all there was to it. But,
And there was the time that you saw Jimmy Pearsall playing there.
yeah, I saw Jimmy Pearsall play.
Who's Jimmy Pearsall?
Who's Jimmy Pearsall?
Who's
He was
Jimmy
a player.
Sorry.
Ultimately a player on the Red Sox. But he was from
Oh.
Waterbury, Connecticut. In 1948, I think it was. He was a senior. He graduated from high school in that year. And it was also the big anniversary year for the International Silver Company in Meriden. And they had a semi-pro team. So now Connie Mack had some connect. Connie Mack was the owner and manager of the Philadelphia Athletics. And he had had, in his younger days, some connection with Meriden playing baseball or whatever. So they contacted him and he said he would bring his team up to play against the Ancilcos. So the Ancilco team had to figure they could fortify themselves a little bit. And they heard about this phenomenal baseball player from Waterbury who had just graduated from high school. So they brought him in to play. He played in the game too. And went on. He had a breakdown, I think. Didn't he, Rob?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, so
They
that's
made a
the book.
movie.
Yeah.
He wrote a book and they made a movie on it called
Yeah.
Fear Strikes Out.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think the movie was a little overwrought. It wasn't like you would go bananas in the dugout, but he didn't really do that. But he did have a breakdown.
Was it Ian that told me the other day that I had forgotten this? Didn't he run the bases backward one
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
So
I guess
that was
he-
the
yeah.
worst thing.
Well, that
yeah.
was
Runway Harrigan.
No.
Runway.
He had 99 career home runs. I guess it was with the Mets. And somebody else had 300, and Pearsall said, "I'll bet you I get bigger headlines when I get my 100th home run than when you get your 300th." And when he hit his 100th home run, he just turned around and ran backwards around the bases. Got him in
He ran
order.
backwards, or he ran third, second, first?
No, he ran first, second, third, and home
But
backwards.
backwards. Okay.
And he got big headlines. And
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay.
Who played
Yeah,
in the movie, do you recall?
Tony Perkins.
He was he had a shortened career because of his mental problems, I guess. Now I don't know did they play it up in the movie, but supposedly he had a tough time growing up. The father was
Yeah.
very, very
Strict.
strict at keeping him working on his baseball.
Carl Malden.
Was that?
Carl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Carl crowd would scare
Did
you.
you get that from Netflix?
No. No. It's not worth it.
No. Was that bad? Huh? Well, Tony Perkins, I can understand.
Now, did you have his baseball card for yourself?
No.
I didn't either. I wasn't collecting baseball cards by then. Connie Mack was an unusual gentleman. I think he was still the owner and manager at 81. And they hadn't won a pennant from the, I don't know, what was the
20
early
years.
30s or 20s, late 20s.
Like early 30s, yeah.
And they were just a doormat all those years.
Yeah, he would go out and get really good ball players, and he'd put his team together, and they didn't draw that well, and he'd be running out of money, and then he'd have to sell them off. And so he'd have a good team, and he'd...
You know, I always tell him because he never dressed in a baseball uniform. He would wear a suit, white shirt, tie,
and a high collar.
and a high collar. Yeah.
And now what team was this?
Philadelphia Athletics.
He's a relative of Ann Max.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Of who?
My
Ann
sister
Max.
Ann Mack
Mack?
who lives with me. Her,
She's the one who makes the chicken.
yeah, her,
Oh,
her father, relative, I don't know just how.
Well, Connie Mack's name was McGillicuddy.
Yeah, well, she was short too.
He didn't want to give up, so he just kept managing the team.
He's not the one that got the midget to play.
No.
it's Bill Veck.
Oh, Bill Beck, that's right.
Beck is
The
in
Philadelphia A's later became the Kansas City A's, right?
Yep.
And then the Kansas City, they moved to Oakland. So they're the Oakland A's even today.
And do you know I was offered a contract for the Oakland A's?
You were?
Yep.
To do what?
Program their scoreboard.
To do what, Rob?
Program their scoreboard.
You didn't take it.
Yeah, you were considering it though, weren't you?
It was kind of an interesting opportunity, but
Would have been a whole different life.
yeah.
The road not taken.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, 9:30. Folks, it's past my bedtime.
Well, I guess there's a road we should be taking.
Greenwood Avenue.
Maybe.
Yeah. Probably foggy, so foggy now.
No, the fog is lifted.
Gotta
It
make
looks
Really?
clear.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
I can see down the first.
Maybe that means tomorrow will be a nice day.
Maybe.
We lucked out this week. We really had a good week.
Yeah.
A little hot, but
One day.
One day.
Well,
Yeah, one
today
day was really-
Today was fairly warm.
But it was nice down there at the beach. There was a
But-
good
Oh,
breeze.
because
There was a great
the air
breeze.
was moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was better on here.
Okay.
It was pretty warm up where, you know, when you're outside
Inland.
and people
Yeah.
have their fans plugged in, it's kind
But
of.
you know what? It wasn't as bad when we were outside. When we were outside standing in the sun, it was pretty warm. I think it was worse when we were inside in that shed.
Oh, that was yeah.
Oh, you were at the
Yeah,
fair?
that first building where there were some very skilled craftspeople,
Oh, really?
some lovely jewelry and some furniture makers and things like that.
okay, Robert, you're gonna check when you get home, see what's waiting at the door for the postman.